today's video is going to be a net worth update for myself. I have been tracking this for a while now. I just think it's interesting to see the progression of my net worth. And I also wanted to make this video because I want to do like a long form of this. I post like a shorter clip on my Instagram and TikTok, and it's just really funny, the comments, because I'm truly doing this just as like a measure. I know that it's not 100% accurate. It's really just for myself to kind of see where my total debt is at and where my investments and cash is sitting at. People like to give me a hard time on certain things on this list, but again, I'm really just doing it as like a general baseline kind of average number. I just think it's interesting, and you know, I want to post like more of a long form video on this just in case people want to check this out and see why I choose to include certain things versus like not other things. Like, I don't know. Let's get into it. I usually start off with my debt section, kind of go over that, see where my total debts are at. So starting out with my credit card, that is at $1,450, and that is on a 0% interest card. And that is because, so again, I like to do these kinds of videos because I have more time to explain why I'm choosing to keep money where I'm choosing to keep it. You know what I mean? When I do a short video, I'm just running through everything, and some people don't understand, like, oh, why don't you just pay off the credit card like right now? Well, as we go through, I will explain why why I didn't pay that off right now, because it's sitting at 0% interest until the end of the year, and I needed the money in my high yield savings account for other reasons that I'll get into later. So anyway, that is my credit card, 0% interest till the end of the year, so I will obviously pay that off. And then my student loans just recently went down to $2,000. I have been paying those off like full force, so that has been amazing. I will also hopefully have those paid off very, very soon. Those are also at 0% interest, and I'm gonna be completely honest with anybody. I don't know why. Like, truly, honestly, I don't know why those are at 0%. I think I just somehow got lucky when this all went down with the forgiveness and the deferment, the pause that was going on because of COVID. Like, I don't know what happened, but again, until I think the end of the year, those are at 0% interest, so I will pay those off. And then the only other thing that I have is a car loan, and that is a little bit high because I did just buy the car last year. We moved and I got a new job, and I have to drive a lot for my new job, so I wanted a new reliable car. I will say, I mean, a lot of people give me, again, a hard time for this, like having a high car loan. Comparatively, I feel like to a lot of people now who are buying a new car, mine is not that high. And again, I'm planning on putting more towards it than what the actual payment is, so I will be paying it off early. People just see that I have a car loan and just assume that I bought it impulsively or can't afford it or have a high payment or whatever. I don't really know. To me, it's not that bad. I had a car that I traded in. I got a brand new car, and the loan is only, I think when I originally took it out, it was like $18,000, but it's a brand new car. I had a trade-in, and I had money to put down. So after all that, so in the grand scheme of things, I did a pretty good job. It wasn't like I made a stupid decision, bought a new car, and had like a $50,000 loan. It was only $18,000, and again, I'm gonna pay it off faster than what the actual term of the loan is. That is now sitting at $17,206. That does have an interest rate, I think about 7%, which kind of stinks. But obviously the interest rates have been insane lately, and I bought a car during a bad time when interest rates were high. But we are focusing on paying that off early. So what I'll do is add those up, and that'll be my total debt, which comes to $20,656. Which, not great, not great. Considering. I would say, considering my student loans are pretty low, I feel like a lot of people around my age have a lot more student loans, or I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy, but I do know on some of my other videos I post, people do have a lot of student loans, so I am very lucky. So that's that section, and then I usually move on to the next section, which is like cash. I mean, this is usually money that's in like a savings account or whatever, like liquid cash that you could, you know, have at your availability, moving between accounts and having available to buy something. In my high yield savings account, which I keep a lot of my money in this account, my savings, because in a high yield savings account, you get a higher interest when the money just sits in there. So when your money sits in a regular checking account, you're getting like pennies, but sitting in this high yield savings account, I usually get like $20, $25 every month because I'm getting interest on the money that's sitting in there. And it's a higher rate. I think it's like 4%, 4.5%, something like that. I use Ally. I'll link it down below. I've had a great experience with them. I just transfer my money between like that account and my regular checking account, and typically it actually goes immediately unless you're transferring like anything over like 2,000 or 2,500. Usually takes like 2 to 3 business days to transfer, but if you need like $200, that'll transfer immediately. So the only thing to consider is if you need like a big chunk of money like immediately, you would probably need to do it a few days in advance with a high yield savings account. Anyway, that's my little spiel, but I do think everyone should have a high yield savings account because you're gonna have that money just sitting there anyway. It might as well get you some interest while it's sitting there. And then I also have a joint high yield savings account with my fiance because we are using that to save for our wedding. And we figured we should have some sort of joint account anyway because we're getting married, and then we can still use that account as like a savings account for us after we're married. In that account right now we have $8,320, which is a lot, but it's gonna be gone probably in the next like month because we have all our payments due for the wedding stuff. We get married June 22nd, and yeah, most things are due about a month before, and then all that money it will be gone. One of the main comments I was getting on this is like, why would I count the whole amount when it's a shared account? I don't know. The logic to that is funny to me because, I mean, it makes sense, but also we are getting married. Like, people were like, well, you're not married yet, so you shouldn't count all the money yours. Like, I don't know. I was like, okay, that makes sense, but at the same time, we're literally like, we're basically married. So I'm confused. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that at this point, like, we've been together for like 7 years. Like, it's our money getting used for wedding stuff. I don't know. That's just how I'm seeing it, but everyone can have their own opinions on these kinds of things. This is just how I'm using it for myself. You can have your own opinions on whatever you want to do with your money. And then I usually just account like whatever I do have in my checking account, which I usually keep around like $300. I don't keep a lot in there. If I'm saving anything, it will go into my high yield savings account. Here is where a lot of the comments come into about, well, why don't you just use the money in your high yield savings account to pay off your credit card or your student loans or whatever. I understand the logic there, but I don't feel comfortable. Like, that would be half of my savings to put towards my debt and my student loans, and yeah, I would pay them off, but then I wouldn't have a secure like emergency fund. And I'm also trying to save for a house. And I said this in my last video, like, I think it's totally okay to be in a position where you want to save for a house, or you have these big milestones that you want to achieve while also paying off debt. Like, I don't think it's an all or nothing where you need to just bear down and pay off all of your debt. I think it's totally okay to look at the big picture, see where you're at. Obviously, I'm in a situation where those two debts, the credit card and the student loans, are at 0%. Whereas if I could put money into my savings account, like I said, it's getting me interest, it's sitting there. I also want to buy a house within the next year while I can pay those off slowly. I don't know, I just think that a lot of people have their opinions on that and why I wouldn't just pay those off. The other part of it was that, so my high yield savings account number used to be higher, and I think that's what threw people off. But I just had to pay for my school tuition as well. So I had my school tuition payment was like $3,700. So I did have that also sitting in my high yield savings account. So I think realistically what people were thinking was, oh, you're saying you have $10,000 in your high-yield savings account. Why are you not using that to pay off your debts? I would, if I could have used that money for that, I would have. But people weren't seeing the big picture because, again, in a short video, I don't have time to like say all of that stuff and like go over the specifics. I was saving certain things within that account for payments that I needed to make in the future. So yeah, it looked like I had all this money just sitting in my high-yield savings account, but really it was for my next school tuition payment so that I don't have to take any more loans or go into any more debt for school. I hope that helps explain the situation. Like I'm sharing this with people for like fun and entertainment, and obviously the comments actually help my engagement, but it is funny because like I'm sitting there and I'm taking all these comments and I'm like, no, but you don't know the full story, you know what I mean? So I'm sitting at like with $6,600 in my high-yield savings account. Again, I feel comfortable having, like, Dave Ramsey says that like you only need $1,000 emergency fund. I think that's BS in this day and age. I think you definitely need more than that, and I don't feel comfortable like not having more than that. So that's why I like to keep that number relatively high. I also have some money in there. That's for my taxes at the end of the year because I do get paid from TikTok, and I've made like some money from social media. So I use that account to store the money that I'm going to be saving for my taxes at the end of the year. So it's not like that money in that account's just like free money that I can use to put towards everything. Like, I have a plan, I have reasons for things. It's just hard for people to know what those reasons are. My total cash is like $15,220. And then I'll move on to my investment section. And again, this is kind of a funny section too, because again, people have their opinions on things. I do have a brokerage account, and that is at $7,311. Now, again, I think people assume when I say this that I'm actively contributing to this account, which is not true at all. This was an account that actually my parents had set up for me. I don't know when, but like at some point when I was growing up, they set this up for me. They would, for Christmas, like gifts, they would buy stocks for me and put the money into this account. So this account isn't really actively being used by me. Like, I don't contribute to this. They gifted this to me so I can use this money when we want to buy a house. That's pretty cool. I'm very grateful for that. I think people are assuming that I'm actively contributing to this account instead of paying off my debts, which is not true. It's just an account that I have, and it counts towards my investments, so I do count it into this, but that is what it's being used for. Part of my overall savings for our house. And what would happen is, actually, when I go to take that money out, it's going to be taxed. And then I'm not sure, I might actually have to pay taxes on it too at the end of the year if I do take it out. So I won't even end up with like $7,000, which is annoying. My next account is my 401k through my employer. I actually recently just combined it all into one because I had worked somewhere per diem for a little bit and then got hired full-time, but I was paid differently. So I had like 3 different retirement accounts. So I finally just put those all together because I got a new job. And this number is $14,387. Now, I feel self-conscious about this number because I did start working a little bit later in life, I guess. Because I went back to school, I didn't start working until I was like 25. So I don't know, I just feel like I missed out on a few years of being able to contribute to my retirement in this account. But I know that anything counts, and it will all, you know, as long as I'm aware of this and start to actively keep contributing and, you know, upping my percentages and making sure that I'm putting money in there, I know that it's not the end of the world, but I'm a little self-conscious of this number. Also, these accounts have all kind of gone down a little bit in the last month because just the stock markets have gone down, but that's what happens. It goes in waves. Usually, like, eventually they trend upwards, but these numbers obviously fluctuate daily. And then I do have a Roth IRA, which is an individual, like, separate retirement account that you can have. I do think that people should have this. This is an account that you put your already taxed money into, so that when you retire, you can have this money untaxed, if that makes sense. And you can contribute, I think they raised it to $7,000 every year that you can put into this account. I haven't been able to put the full amount in any year. I think I started it not last year, but the year before, like halfway through the year, I opened the account. I haven't been able to contribute the full amount. Again, I think anything that you can contribute while you're young is important because of compound interest. So any money that you have in there, you'll get interest on it, and then the number just keeps growing. Even if I didn't put anything in the account for 10 years, it would still grow because you're getting interest on the money that's sitting in there. Total investments come to $26,898. How I calculate my net worth is I would take my investments plus the cash, because those are the positive numbers, and then subtract the debts, which is the negative number. If I do that with these numbers, my net worth comes to $21,462, which is crazy. I think that's the highest that it has ever been. So that feels pretty good. I know that number will change because we will be spending the money for the wedding. Again, I keep saying this, but another reason people make comments about this, I think, is because a lot of people think that the car is also an asset, which is true. They're like, you should also include the car as an asset and the value of the car, blah, blah, blah. I'm not that specific with this, and to me, I owe money on the car, so it's a debt. I do know it's an asset, but to me, it's a liability, it's a debt. And I also, I'm just a girl. I don't know the truth. I don't know the value of the car. I really don't. So to me, I'd just be guessing, and it wouldn't be that accurate anyway. Either way, if I include it or don't include it, like, the setup that I have is what makes sense in my head and like the exact numbers that I have. I could estimate the car, I could estimate all my other assets that I have. Realistically, like, I don't know, that's a little too much effort for me, and I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, that is how I calculate my net worth, if anyone's interested, and it gets me an approximate net worth for myself. And that's all that I really care about, really. That is my net worth update for you guys. And I'll try to do this every month because I like to go over it at the beginning of the month, and I post usually updates on my other platforms, so I will try to do one of these every month because I do find them interesting and I like to see where the numbers kind of go, and they have been increasing, which feels really good. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.